Early on Memorial Day, I head out to Dorothy Lake Road. A few weeks previous to this, my son had driven it with his friend for a little hike and took some video of his drive. It looked pretty cool. So I head out of the city and just take I-90 east up to a small town called Tanner, which is just after North Bend. Once I get to Tanner, I do a little setup and I get on the road that is leading into Dorothy Lake Road, and that's, as you see here, Southeast Middle Fork Road. One thing I noticed is that I wish I'd gotten here earlier, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but I noticed a lot of people coming in, and I realized that I should have got to the road probably about an hour earlier. I might have got to this road a little too late in the season, or I should say at the start of the season. I think if I had come maybe like 3 weeks earlier when it was still much colder, there'd probably be no one out here. All in all, though, it was pretty cool. Lots of green. You can see this on the drive. And then I get to this spot where I'm like, are you going to stop, buddy? And then, get into the middle fork of Snoqualmie River Valley. It's more of the same as the road coming into it, but I think I kind of was a little even more cautious. The road had a lot of promise. I realized as I'm driving it that because the place where people are camping, it's probably not super cool for me with my slightly aftermarket exhaust to kind of blow through the forest early in the morning. And it's just not a place to do this. So as you can see, there's lots of turns, there's lots of nice straightaways. You kind of have this really almost tree tunnel effect, and you're just encapsulated in green the whole way out there. You'll catch peaks of the sunrise over the mountains. So as I was driving and the sun was rising, I was catching glimpses of, I think they're called Tream Peak, or it's called Tream Peak. It's pretty jaggedy looking mountain off to the, in this case, to the east or northeast on my right. It's kind of blown out here, but it was pretty cool. And then you have these breaks in the trees, and you go over the river, and there's a river, go over this bridge. It's just a really nice, enjoyable drive, and it would be cool to come out here and do some hiking. Actually, there's tons of trailheads. If you're replaced with lots of hiking, this is the place to go. When you look on the map on this road, you'll just see trailhead after trailhead and camping area. So I definitely recommend it for that, just because, and I was out here to drive, not to go hiking, but if you're into that, this is probably a good place to go. There was this really funny spot where it's called a spot that had these signs that said dip, and it was this really interesting 2 dips, and I'm wondering if there's a bunch of spring melt that they're just filled with water, because it's an interesting structure that they would just put on the road. You can see here in these grades, they're just right after another, and you might not be able to see it here in the thing. You can see how the road is segmented for flexibility. And there were a couple times where I was a little more assertive in my driving style, but for the most part, I just do it a little quickly and then just cycle back down. I just was like, this isn't worth it. There's people out here too many people out here that they're not here to get from point A to point B. They're here to find a place and for, to be in the quiet of the forest, such as it is. Even though you can hear the water, no matter where you are, you're not out here to hear someone drive by in their car at a relatively fast speed or a relatively, not a super loud exhaust, but at least a little bit louder exhaust. The end of the paved area, and as you know, I decided not to venture too far into gravel in the wilderness. I'm still probably would on the agricultural land, because it's more just a farm road. It's not a back road per se where no one's really grooming it, people aren't really driving it. So I got to the end here and decided that I would not be going any further. And according to my son, he decided to go forward, and he said it was pretty sketchy and had wished that he wasn't really thrilled with having gone up there. And I believe that this is there's a camping area right there by this section, and you cross over the Taylor River. But I just stopped before that and just took stock of my situation and weighed the idea of going up the gravel or not, and decided against it. There's a giant pothole, and as I was driving up on, I was like, oh, hey, I'm not going to drive into that. So I kind of drove around it. And so I'm waiting here. I'm like kind of working on getting my act together with some of the gear I have and everything. And this guy pulls up, just goes for it, totally bottoms out. But he's going to head up the trail, so more power to him. But you probably should drive a little bit slower and figure out what you're driving onto. So after I turn around, I head down to the Middle Fork Trailhead and park there to get out, and then you will see me talk to you on camera. Alrighty guys, I'm here at the Middle Fork Trail of the Snoqualmie National Forest. It is very green. You can hear the water in the background. I think I might go see if I can get to there. As you kind of see along the trail, there's a bridge over there. Yeah, so I got to the end of the paved part, and the paved part was pretty great, but I think that this is one of those road lessons, which is make the Find and Drive on the National Forest back road, only because it's not really set up for driving. It's more for people to get to trailheads and campsites and stuff, and I just worry about people walk along the road, and it's not really the place to drive per se, like where you want to drive. Yeah, but other than that, it was a great road, and I'm glad Finn told me about it. It is beautiful out here, and I wish I'd got here an hour earlier maybe, but you know, that's the way it goes. So anyways, I'll see you guys out there. Once I started heading back out, I was even more cognizant of the fact that this was a campground and wasn't really hitting it too hard. Well, actually didn't hit it hard at all. Just kind of cruised out and enjoyed the scenery. So Southeast Dorothy Lake Road. Road quality wise, it's a great quality road. It's, you know, it's not particularly wide, but it's really smooth, really well groomed, no potholes in the paving or anything. I mean, the big problem is this really isn't a driver's road. It's a place to get to trailheads, it's a place to get to campgrounds. So I don't recommend this as a driving road. I recommend it just as a travel road, as a place to visit. And I wish it was a driving road because it would be pretty awesome to be out here, you know, when no one's around and really experience the road as you could with your car. Yeah, so you know, these guys, like, I was not thrilled. I thought those guys were idiots. One, they're not walking single file. They're walking abreast or, you know, side by side on a road that's narrow with cars going by. Like, come on, guys. So once you leave the park, do that section I drove through earlier where the guy almost went through the stop sign. You get back on the Southeast Middle Fork Road and you head back out. And this turned out to be a little treat because it was curvy and there's nobody on it really. You know, like one or two cars maybe. It dips. There's good turns. It was a fun little spot. Like, it was a nice little highlight to this as far as driving goes. I had this really great rise and dip where I kind of was like leaning over the wheel to see what was on the other side because you couldn't see what was coming over. You know, as you're going over the crest of this hill, it just dropped down. It was pretty cool. I like that kind of stuff. Yeah, so this was a great little drive. I call this a mini drive because I got out here from my house in about an hour, and then, you know, if I just drove straight through, I did get some coffee in the morning, and then it took about probably an extra hour and a half on the way home, only because I drove all the way down through South Bend on that road, and which led into Redmond and stuff. Probably get out here in an hour or less, drive the road all the way to where I got to the end and back, and really only be like 2.5 hours. But it's definitely worth getting out of the car and walking around because it's beautiful. If you get a chance, head out here and check it out. See you out there.